Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone.
Waalaikumsalam, sir.
Waalaikumsalam, sir.
Okay, so we will continue from yesterday's lecture regarding introduction on MATLAB. So yesterday you have learned some basic uh, functionality on MATLAB and involves matrix operation, okay, including multiplication, addition. So now we will look at some other functions in MATLAB. So the first thing that we are going to look is some inbuilt maths function. So last time in C programming, we also have inbuilt maths function such as trigonometric function, sine, cosine, exponential, logarithm, and so on. So in MATLAB, there are so many functions, and of course, you cannot memorize all of them. And so whenever you need to use a function, maybe you have some idea to calculate something, so you just need to Google. Okay, sometimes when you Google, uh, people already use some functions and probably have the same effect, okay, as what you want. So just Google, okay, whenever you need to use some function in MATLAB. Okay, so you even I don't memorize all the functions. Okay, so there are some functions like to calculate the summation of something, or the products of something, to calculate the maximum, the minimum, standard deviation, and so on. Okay, so many more functions that are available in MATLAB. Okay, so we move on to how to do some plotting in MATLAB. Okay, so MATLAB, one of the function of MATLAB is to plot graphs. Okay, so it can plot a line graph, for example, in this figure. It can also be used to plot 3D graph, and it can also plot graphs that can move, okay, can change with time. Okay, but it requires you to use programming code. Okay, so all of this functionality, uh, same as functions just now, you can Google uh, okay, for all the functionality. So I don't know all the functionality in MATLAB. Sometimes even plotting, I also forgot how to use the plot function in MATLAB. Okay, so let's look at how to plot a graph in MATLAB. Okay, so maybe I just copy. Okay, just copy this. No. Okay. So before that, there is another functionality in MATLAB where you can write all your scripts in MATLAB and save it. Okay, if you write in command window, usually you can only write one script or one line of code at a time. But there is a function in MATLAB, or functionality in MATLAB, that allows you to write a long code and save it. Okay, so here in the home tab, you can press the new script here, or new document. Okay, I think just press new script. So when you press new script, then another window will come out. It is called editor window. So in the editor window, you can write your codes. Okay, many lines of codes. So the code just now, I can just paste it in this editor. but still need to edit lah. Okay, so when you paste the code, sometimes there's a different colors of the command, okay, of the codes. For example, ya, pergi ke folder ni dulu. Okay, so for example, the purple color usually refer to text, okay? Any text ataupun perkataan that you want to display in your plot or in your programming, okay? And the red color usually error lah, okay? Invalid, okay? And there are some other colors, but in this example, only purple and red. Maybe later on when we see a different color, then I will explain. Okay, so yang red ni, the error lah, okay. So usually what I did is I just delete it and retype single apostrophe. Apa nama dia? Okay. So bila copy dia akan jadi yang sengit sikit, okay? So that's why dia color merah. Okay, so yang merah tu dia invalid, dia error lah. Okay, so just delete it and retype it. Okay. And then you can save your code. You can save it in your current folder. Okay, so just click save on top here in the editor tab, and make sure you name it something similar to variable name. You cannot start with numbers, so you start with words. So here I want to name it sample number 1. Okay. Put the sample 1. Okay. So the name here is very important later on when we look at how to model, how to write codes for ODE. Then the name here is very important because when you run your code, the name of the function must be the same of this file name. Okay, later on we will see what I meant. Okay. Okay, so when you have saved this, then you can just click run on top here. Okay, so it will take some time. Okay, laptop ni pun dah lembab dah. Okay, error incorrect number of input arguments. Ini ada bracket katanya. Oh, ni pun tukar semicolon tu. Tukar apostrophe, sorry. Keluar color merah. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so you will get a graph after you run this code, okay, with some adjustment. Okay, so this is an example of graph. Okay, so okay, let me explain what this code is about. So the first line here, line 1. So the function linspace here is basically it will divide the number from 0 until 1000 by how to say, from 0 to 1000, the increment from 0 to 1000 by stepping 2 times pi. Okay, so you will start from 0. No, it's from 0 until 1000, but the step is 1000 divided by 2 times pi. Okay, whatever. Linspace basically, it will create a matrix X with 1000 elements. Okay, there are 1000 elements, but it start from 0 and increase according to 1000 divided by 2 pi. I think 1000 divided by 2 pi. I forgot the formula. But it basically create a matrix with 1000 element. Okay, so you can Google what is linspace. Okay, saya pun tak ingat, so kena Google lah. Okay, so after we create the variable x, then we create a variable y equals sine of x. Okay, so kita just guna function sine, calculate x. So since x ada 1000 elemen, so y pun kena ada 1000 elemen juga, sebab dia kira sine x setiap elemen tu. Setiap elemen x dia sine kan, dia sine kan setiap elemen x. Okay, same with z, it'll create cosine of x. Okay, so there will be 1000 element of z. Okay, so the function hold on is basically, it will create a figure. It will create a figure that that is hold for a while. Okay, for example, if you don't have this hold on, then when you run your code, let's say until here, until line number 6, so you get a figure. So this graph here represent the first plot here, plot number 5, line number 5, which is y versus x. Okay, so when you run the next code, okay, so when you run the next code, it will plot z versus x, but because you don't have the hold on, so it will delete the previous graph and replace with a new graph. Okay, so the purpose of adding hold on just now is to allow the code to plot two graphs on the same plot. Okay, so let's look again what happened if we have hold on. So when you have hold on, then the two graphs are plotted on the same figure. Okay, on the same graph. Okay, so the purpose of a hold on is to hold the first graph and keep plotting whatever plots that you write. Okay, in the codes. Okay, until it reach a hold off. Okay, so when you write hold off, then when you plot again, then it will delete everything that is already plotted in your graph. Okay, so that's the purpose of hold on and hold off. Okay, and the next things on the code are the X label, Y label. So X label is basically to label the X axis, and the Y label is to label the Y axis. So anything inside the apostrophe, tak tahu apa nama dia, lupa dah, is will come out in the labels. Okay, so you can write anything inside this. Okay, same with title. So when you run title, it will give the title of the plot. Okay, and same with legend. So legend, what it will do is basically it will indicate the green graph represent what, and the blue graph represent what. Macam terbalik je. Okay, so yang ni sepatutnya Z, sepatutnya X, Y. Okay. Okay, so another functionality in MATLAB is you can put this red dot here. So this red dot is basically used to allow you to run the code up until where the red dot is located. So for example, if I put red dot here at line number 4, so when you run the code, it will run the code until the red dot, and then it stops. Okay. So the purpose of putting red dot here is to allow you to debug, okay, to find bugs in your code, okay, or find error or mistakes in the code. Okay, so uh, the function of the red line is basically in these breakpoints here. Okay, so saya tak boleh nak ajar macam mana nak debug, okay. So that one requires experience lah. Selalu try MATLAB and baru boleh faham macam mana nak debug, okay. So when you debug, you can just press continue or step. So it will run the code line by line, okay. So you can see the effect of each line of code when you press step here, because it will run the code line by line. So if you don't have this dot, when you run, dia akan run semua sekali. So tak boleh tengok effect of the codes line by line. So later maybe in your assignment ke, tiba dah ada assignment dah. Okay, so you can debug your code, okay, in case macam dah tulis code and then suddenly ada error, so you can debug the code line by line to see where the error is located. Okay, so this is the basic about plotting. So the function plot, X is the for X axis, and Y is the variable for Y axis. And the B here represent the color of the plot. Okay, so there are many colors. So the two colors presented here are blue and green. So you have yellow, black, and so on. So all of this you can Google, okay? I don't remember everything. I remember blue, green, and red. Red are, okay? So there are many colors. I think maybe 20 colors. Even you can adjust the colors by adjusting the RGB, okay? The RGB values. Okay, so that one requires you to Google, okay? Okay, so that's it for plot. So let's move on to the lecture notes. Okay, so another plotting method is you can plot all of the graph in one single code. Okay. So for example, for example, these two this two plot function plots the graph separately. Okay, but you can plot them on the same plot function. So you just write plot. So xy is the first graph, and the second graph is xz. Okay. So the first two represent the plot of y versus x, and the second one represent the plot z versus x. So if you have a lot of function that you want to plot, so you can just repeat the process. Okay. For example, so this is just example. Okay, so if you write in one single command, then you don't have to assign colors to your plot. It will automatically produce the color accordingly. Okay, so the automatic ada color. Okay, tak tahu kenapa color berubah. Okay. Okay, ni example, ni boleh try sendiri nanti. Okay, so in MATLAB we have a function called subplots. Okay, so you can plot two different graphs in a different plot, but in the same windows. Okay, so for example, just now we have two plots, but now the plots are in the same graph, in the same plot. But you want to separate them. You want one plot is only the Y, the other one is Z. Okay, so you want them to be separate. So you use subplot. Okay, macam mana buat subplot apa dah? Okay, kena guna this command here. So what you need to do is you just write subplot. Let's say you want it to have two column but one row. So you just write one row, two column, and the first plot. Okay. So this is a row, column, and the plot number 1. Okay, and then repeat the process. Just copy this and change it to number 2, plot number 2. Okay, so let's try run this code. Okay, so we got two separate graph. Okay, so we got two separate graph in the same window, but separated dia punya graph. Okay. Okay, so the errors keluar kat sini because kita ada legend. So when you have two different graphs, so you don't have to put legend anymore. And then titles and labels, if you put below the second plot, then it will come up for the second plot only. So what you need to do is you just copy paste and put on the bottom of the first plot. Okay, so setiap plot kena ada label dan title dia sendiri. Barulah dalam graph tu ada title dan ada label. Okay, dia still keluar legend ni. Sakit berhati.
Doktor,
Ya saya.
yang legend tu untuk apa, Doktor?
Okay, so legend tadi, if you plot in one graph, if you plot the graph in one single axis, so kita tak dapat tahu biru ni represent apa, hijau represent apa. So kita put legend, untuk indicate, untuk macam kita punya indication lah. Biru represent what, green represent what.
Okay, Doktor.
Okay, so this is the purpose of subplot. Okay, so maybe if you have FYP yang kena guna MATLAB, boleh plot pakai subplot. Or sometimes bila nak plot something guna subplot, dia lagi cantik bila susun dalam thesis, for example. So boleh explore subplot. Okay, so you can explore this in by Google. Okay. Okay, so that's for subplot. Okay, so exporting and importing data, I will skip this because it is not used in our class. But if you are going to use it, then bolehlah baca. Okay, so setiap programming language, there is a function to load a data, okay, or load something from Excel. Okay, so we move on to flow control in MATLAB. So in C programming last time, we have learned about for loop, if else, switch. So in MATLAB also, there are the similar command. We call it control, okay? Control code, okay? So in MATLAB, we have if statement, switch, for loop, while loop, and break statement. Actually, there are many more. Jump statement. What else I forgot, okay? So I don't remember everything as well. Whenever I need to use it, then I Google. Okay, macam kakak kan, lecturer pun kena Google. Tapi itulah konsep programming, sebab dia terlalu banyak command, tak ingat semua. Okay, so in this class we are going to look at if and for loops. Okay, banyak guna if and for loop. Commonly used lah. Okay, switch ni sangat jarang digunakan. Tak tahu kat mana kegunaan switch, tapi ada kegunaan dia. And while loop also, actually while loop by if you ask programmers, I think they said while loop will be faster than for loop. Faster berapa saat tak tahulah. Dan while loop juga ada kegunaan dia dalam keadaan-keadaan tertentu. Kita akan guna while loop. Kita tak guna for loop. Tak boleh guna for loop, kena guna while loop. So to differentiate for loop and while loop requires you to use them a lot. Okay, whenever you use them a lot, baru nampak lah kena guna while loop, tak boleh for loop. Okay, so maksudnya programmers dia tahulah, okay, orang FCOM, okay, student FCOM dia tahulah for loop dengan while loop ni bila kena guna. Okay, so let's look at if and for loop only. Okay, so if statement. So if you still remember, we use if. There are if, else if, and else. Okay, so the general form of if statement is you start with if. So if your code only have one if, then you start with if, the expression, and followed by the quotes, and you must close it with n. Okay, so if n. If your code has like else if, else, so just write if, the code, else if, the code, followed by as many else if as you want, and then close it with else, and then put an n at the end. Okay, so must have n at the end. So that's MATLAB. Okay, must have if and then n. So the example shown here. So if I equals j, then you do something. Okay, the do something here depends on what you want to do. Okay. Else, if I bigger than j, something happen. So you can repeat the code. So you must put n at the end. And then on the if, else if, you don't have to put semicolon at the end of the line. Okay, no semicolon. Okay, so we will look, you guys will try this in assignment later. Okay. Okay, switch, kita skip. Okay, for loop. Okay, so in a for loop, similar to if, you start your for loop by putting for and the expression. And you write the codes, whatever you want to calculate. And then must have n at the end. So for expression and the n. So for example here, so you start with 4. So x equals 0. So this double dot here, yesterday I explained that double dot means that from 0 until, okay, until 1. But now we have something else in the middle. Double dot 0.05 and then another double dot here. So this means that the code, the value of x start from 0 until 1, but it increased by 0.05. Okay, so 0, then 0.05, 0.1, 0.15, etc., etc., until 1. Okay, so it increased by 0.05. So 0, double dot, increased by 0.05 until 1. Okay. So if you don't have the increment size, so you just write 0 until 1. Okay. So the double dot here means until. And the function, this code tries to plot or tries to print the value of x for each iteration. Okay. So x is 0, then it prints the value 0, and then repeat the process until it reach number 1. Okay, so you have you can also have nested for loop. Okay, so this one probably not gonna be used in our class. Okay, but probably you already or will use it in your project. Okay, while loop kita skip and break. Okay, so there are many more: break, jump, and so on. So boleh refer Google. Okay, efficient programming kita skip lah. Okay, saya tak ajar macam mana buat programming tu lebih efficient. Okay, so there are steps to make it more efficient. Tapi dia tak boleh ajar benda ni. Dia bukan tak boleh ajar sebab secret ke apa ke. Dia kena explore. Okay, tak boleh nak explain, susah. Okay, so if you are stuck with something, then you can just write help in your command window. Okay, so dalam command window, we can just write help. Let's say help clear. Tak tahu clear ni apa benda. So just write help clear. Then it gives the explanation what is clear. So clear is clear variables and functions from memory. Dia explain lah apa-apa semua. So whenever you stuck with something and tak ada Google, tak ada internet, so you can just write help plot. I don't know how to plot graph. So just write help plot. So it will gives you the instruction to use plot. Tapi kena baca lah, okay? Plot, a linear plot. So plot XY, what is plot XY? And plot Y, what is plot Y? And so on. So ni ada color, they list all the colors. And symbol as well. Okay. And many more. So that's for help. Okay, so one more before we end for today's lecture. So I want to explain about how to create your own functions in MATLAB, your own user-defined functions in MATLAB. So functions that I explained just now is the function that is already come together with MATLAB. But sometimes you want to create your own function that specifically calculate for something that you want. Okay, so you can create function using MATLAB. So to create a function, you need to remember the format. So the format is start with the word function, and then followed by a list of output that you want from your function with a square bracket equals the name of the function. Okay, whatever name that you want must start with words. Okay, cannot start with numbers, must start with letters, and then followed by circular bracket with input arguments that you want to input in the function. Okay, so let's look at one example here. Okay, so let's say you want to plot sine 3x plus sine 3.1x. So you create a user-defined function. Okay, so let's copy this. Okay, copy. So to create a function, first thing that you need to do is you need to have the editor. Okay, you need to create an editor by pressing the new document here, or you can press the plus button if you already have the windows here, the editor window. Okay, so since I already have the editor window, I just press the plus button. So if you don't have the editor window, just press plus on the home tab pun boleh. New script. So an editor window will come up. And then we just paste the function just now. Okay, so this is the function name. So the function name is f. The output r. The input is x. Okay. So name equals r. Af. Output r. and input X. So if you want to write a comment, you just use a %. Okay. So this is a comment that the code won't run this sentence. Okay, so when you write the function and save it, okay, save it. So make sure that you save the function. The file name must be the same with the function name. Okay, so here the name of the function is f. So you must save your file with the name f as well. So if you save it with different name, then tak boleh detect. Okay, MATLAB cannot detect the function. So save it with name f. Okay, so let's say you change it here a different name. Sample2, for example. So you cannot save simply save. You need to save as. Okay, save as, and make sure the name is the same here. Sample2. So sample2. Okay, kalau tidak dia akan confuse. Tak jumpa function tu. Okay, so let's say we have the same x as previous example, the linspace. So first we run linspace here, and then we want to find the value of r, sine 3x plus sine 3.1x. So you just call this function, okay, by copy paste the this highlighted here and put it in the command window and semicolon. Okay, so it will give you the value r, or you can also press run. Tapi dia akan cakap not enough input arguments. Okay, tak tahu kenapa. So you cannot press run. You need to copy and paste it in. Oh, okay. Yeah, you need to copy and paste it in command window. Okay, just call it. Okay, you need to call it in command window, or you can call it in another editor. Okay. Okay, but you must make sure that when you save a function, it is saved in the folder, in the current folder. So let's say you change your folder. Let's say change ke tempat lain, desktop. So you want to run the same function here. So let's say you want to run this command here. So tak boleh sebab dia tak jumpa function tu dalam desktop. Sebab kita save tempat lain. So you must save the function and run it while the current folder has the function, okay? Has the function that you created. Okay? So maybe masa test ke, dah save function, tiba-tiba tukar folder, lepas tu message saya, sir, saya run tak boleh, dia kata error. Tu maksudnya tengok dulu apa error dia. Okay, mungkin your current folder is wrong. Okay, so you need to make sure the current folder has the function that you save. Okay. Okay, practice ni boleh try nanti kalau rajin. Ni diulang balik flow control. And there are many more example, tapi kita skip. Okay, so that's it for today's lecture. Kita akan sambung lagi MATLAB next week. But you can try do assignment 1A. Okay, so assignment 1A is past year question. Bila punya dah lupa dah. Okay, so this question should be use all the lectures that I've been teaching until today. Okay, so you should be able to do it. Okay, so boleh try explore MATLAB how to do this assignment, and don't worry about the submission. You will submit this maybe week 4. Okay, so now week 2, maybe week 4. So we have one more assignment 1B. which we will learn it next week. Okay. So try first and try explore MATLAB, because later when we go into ODE to solve with ODE, by then I hope you already know how to use plot, how to use if else, how to use for loop, for example. Okay. So try explore MATLAB by doing this assignment, and also by doing the example in the lecture notes. Okay, so that's it for today's class. Doctor, can you send our video meeting? Yes. Memang send. Semalam pun ada dalam WhatsApp. Kan? Ada kan? Okay. So jangan risau. Saya tak adalah kejam tiba. Okay, so that's it for today's class. Any question before we end this session? Okay, so if you don't have any question, I hope you can try assignment 1A. You can discuss among your friends, okay, among yourself. Okay, explore the functionality of MATLAB. Okay, and then next week we will continue on lecture 1B regarding the application of MATLAB for a case study example. Okay, so that's it for today's class. Thank you. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Gila makan.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Okay,
Doctor.
bye. Bye. Okay, bye. You can end the call. Stop recording.